Hello everyone and welcome back to week 4 of 13 Frights Before Halloween. This collaboration is so much fun. We have 10 other crafty ghouls out there who are creating Halloween projects to share with you. Make sure you check the description box below for all of their links. And don't forget that you too can be part of this collaboration by using the hashtag Sandy's 13 Frights Before Halloween 2022. And don't forget that we'll be back every Monday with a new Halloween crafty project for 13 weeks. Now, let's get crafting. My project this week took on a mind of its own. I had started out with the idea of creating a Halloween wand, which I've never done before. And as I was continuing to play with the rosettes and just thinking of other ideas, I ended up coming up with something I think is different. I haven't seen this out there before. Maybe it is, I don't know. But that's just where I went. So when I was creating that, I used 31 collection by Prima as well as Hey Pumpkin by Crepe Paper. I only used a few elements out of this, mainly the paper. And let me show you what it is that I came up with. So here is the idea that sparked another idea. So what we have here are two rosettes stacked on top of each other. And then what I did was take two die cut elements that are from Heidi Swapp, the skull as well as the top hat. I used Cricut Design Space to print and cut these out 2 times. I mirrored the image for the back. And then as I was putting the rosette together on the top one here, I tucked in the skull. Now, this can actually be a place card holder, a food label holder, a sign holder. You could put a photo in there to hold it, or just a decor piece. You may wonder why it could be a holder. Well, I took the skull, glued that all together, and then I glued on the top hat, but I left part of the top hat open. So you could take something and tuck that in there, and that now holds your item. And I really just love this idea, and I kind of went with it. But before I show you the actual project, let me talk a little bit about the next one that I did. I have a little 1/2 inch rosette on the top, and then a 1 inch rosette on the bottom, which comes out to 2 inches. And this one was 2.5 inches. What I did here was take a die cut, I backed it on black cardstock, and then I cut out the image. And here again, I left the top half open so that I could tuck something down in there. These are just so cute. I love them. They would make great little placeholders at the table if you're having a Halloween party. You know, put your little food label in there, labeling your Halloween food, and set this out in front of it. Just adorable. So now let me show you the grand poobah of this idea. So here was the idea that I came up with, and this is stacked rosettes. And it's actually a stacked rosettes holder. As I mentioned before, I left the top hat open so that you could add something to the top. I think these would be great little centerpieces. So what we have here is different rosettes out of different types of paper, using different widths and different lengths. So we start with our skull and top hat. These came from Heidi Swapp from her Halloween collection last year. I got the digital elements and just print and cut those out using Cricut Design Space, glued the skull together and glued part of the hat together, and then left some open there. The next, I did a 1/2 inch rosette. I tucked in my little skull here, and then that got layered onto a 1 inch rosette, which I used the Tim Holtz die for. We have some fun fur under that. And then the next rosette is actually a snowflake die from Tim Holtz. And I thought, how perfect would that be for Halloween as well? The little spikes is a little bit gothic, so I thought that went right with the holiday season. I really like how that pokes out there. Next, I added a vellum rosette, and I did this in a 1/2 inch so it would be nice and thick. Kind of reminds me of the collars that you used to see, maybe clowns wearing the collars or back in the olden days. And then, of course, I added one of these spider rings from the Dollar Tree, just cut the ring part off, added him there. I added some tulle from the Dollar Tree, or decorative mesh, they call it. Here is one of the little skulls that I cut off of the necklaces that you can get from the Dollar Tree as well. And then we have some more rosettes. Now you'll see on the rosettes, I did some glittering and I used stickles on the black one here. And then I also used this glitter glue that I picked up from the Dollar Tree. So I layered some more. We have a 1/4 inch, we have another 1/2 inch rosette, another 1/4 inch. Again, I used some of that decorative mesh. I added on some roses from Tim Holtz. And here I created a 3/8 inch rosette out of the spider paper from Prima. And then it all sits on top of a 5 inch doily that I cut out of Cricut Design Space. The little admit RIP ticket here is from Heidi Swapp as well, same element pack. And then I had this skull and bone pick. And if you look at it, it's like this ticket is his arm and this is his cane. And I am just loving that whole idea. So fun. Here's the back side. I didn't decorate this one on the back side, just the front. And then, of course, we can tuck our little image in there. And there we have our stacked rosette holder. Here is the second stacked rosette holder that I created. I did one with that vintage cat that again came from Heidi Swapp's Elements. You can get that digitally on her Heidi Swapp shop. So for this one, I started out with a 1/2 inch rosette. I layered on some of that decorative mesh with the spider webs. We have a 1/4 of an inch vellum rosette, some fun fur. Here's a 1/2 inch rosette. I added 2 little elements that are buttons and just cut the backs off. They were a perfect size for this design. We have another 1/4 of an inch rosette, and here is some more decorative mesh, a 1/2 inch, where again I used these stickles to go around the outside. We now have another 1/2 inch rosette, and while I was creating these, sometimes I would use decorative punches. Here we have like a doily edge, and here is another doily type edge. Or I used the Tim Holtz dies, or just left it plain. I liked having the variation of decorative edges with the straight edge. So for our next one, I did a 1/2 inch rosette here. I put some fun fur in between these 2 layers, added my little sentiment here with the puffy star sticker, treat yourself, and then included some candy corn. We have chipboard and puffy stickers. And then again, from the skull and bone necklace from Dollar Tree, I cut off some of the bones and added it here in this rosette. I thought that was kind of neat. I love that color. It went perfect with this one. I cut out a cobweb with Cricut Design Space, layered that in here. It's actually holographic. Probably won't be able to tell much, but it's that Hey Pumpkins skeleton paper. I used this paper to cut out that cobweb and tuck that in there. Put a little bit more chipboard pieces with the candy corn. And then again, did a 3/8 inch rosette here, layering on the glitter glue to the edges. And then that sits on a 5.5 inch glitter doily that I cut with Cricut Design Space. Now on this one, I did decorate on the back side a little bit, added some more candy corn here sporadically. So you really could use these from the front and the back. And I am loving this. So here it is without anything sticking out of it. Super, super fun. So for the layering of my rosettes, you know, we started out with a 1/2 inch. We did a 2-inch rosette. There's a 3-inch, 3 1/4. We have a 4-inch. Then we skipped down to 4 1/2. And then a 4 7/8 inch was the cobweb. And 5-inch was our last rosette. And then 5 1/2 was the doily. So that's kind of how I staggered them. It really is a preference in how you want it to look, because my first one came out totally different. This one, I kind of made it a little more boxy up top, and then it spread out. If you notice the rosettes, I mean, they tear down, but they just look a little different than this one, which has a clear definition of staggering the width of the rosettes. I love both of them, just so that you can get a better idea. But super, super fun. So I hope you like this project. I do have a tutorial following this portion of the video. If you can't stay, thank you for joining me. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. And for those that can stay, let's get started on creating a stacked rosette. Okay, for this one, I used the 31 collection by Prima. I cut out a 1 3/4 by 12-inch strip, and then I used the Tim Holtz paper rosette die. And when you put that on, you end up with a strip that measures close to 1 1/4. So once you have all of your zigzags pressed, you're going to take the end that is just flat, and you're going to add adhesive. Now, some people use hot glue. I'm just going to use regular glue because I'm going to switch to a different one in a moment. You take the other end that is kind of a triangle, and you're going to put that over the flat side and then push those two together to close off the rosette. Okay? You're going to take your fingers to the top of the rosette and push it together like that, and then push down to the table. See how that pops down? And then you would take your hot glue, this is where I would use hot glue, and fill up the center right there. And what that does is seals your rosette together. So I've done this on the acrylic block so that I could just pop it up when I want to. But I've left it on there so that I could show you something else. Okay, the next thing I did was take a 9-inch strip I started with 3/4 inches and ended up with a 1/2 inch. What I did was use a doily edge punch, and I was able to get that really nice edging. And then what I wanted for, it was too big. It was covering up the pumpkins, and I wanted to be able to see them. So then I ended up cutting it down to 1/2 inch wide. After I did my decorative edge, so I started out with 3/4 inch, did my decorative edge, and then I cut it down to 1/2 inch. And that's going to fit right here in the center. Before we can add this to the center, we need to prepare our pieces that are going to go on top of it. So what I have here are 2 skulls, and these come from Heidi Swap. She had Halloween ephemera last year. You could get it digitally or paper version, and I actually have both. So I printed up a couple of these. In Cricut Design Space, I flipped the image so I could put them back to back. And what we're going to do to make them the place card holder, or, you know, however we want to use them, is go ahead and add some glue down to the bottom part. I did add Distress Oxide Black Soot around my images, as well as around the edges of the backside, just so that if they didn't line up perfectly, it still looks good. So now we can actually add our card in there. Of course, it'll be bigger. This is just what I have right now. It'll fit in there like that. Now you could easily recreate this by using two ephemera pieces that are the same and back them, or you could use two different pieces and just back them, or solid cardstock on the back, decorative on the front. So what we're going to do now is to take our smaller rosette. I'm going to place this on top of the large one and go ahead and add my hot glue to the center. While that is still warm, I'm going to take my skull and, I don't know, I'm going to show you that, and push it down into the hot glue. I'm making like a little collar, like a ruffle collar for his head. I'm sorry, this idea came to me. I was cracking myself up with it. Okay. That's why I didn't pop this off here, because I need that to be, you know, still. Okay, I have my hot glue here and ready. I have my image and my little piece. So let's give it a go. Going to add this here. I'm going to try and keep it all in the center. It was so much easier on the table, of course. But I want it to be here so that it molds around the bottom rosette. There we go. So here's what it looks like. And I'm going to take the Elmer's glitter glue that I got from the Dollar Tree and kind of put it up around the top of the rosette. Now another thing that I wanted to add was a little top hat. Oh my gosh, that's so cute. Okay, so we're gonna do that. I'm not sure where to put the glue, so I'm just gonna put it on his head. Still keeping the two open though, so don't glue those shut. Okay, love that. So see, okay, we're good. We can still get in there. It's gonna be a tall. We might have to glue that part together, glue the rest of the skull together, and then just unglue the, yeah, okay. So I'm gluing the whole skull together. And we're just gonna leave the hats open. And then Heidi had this little RIP Admit One ticket. I don't know, I thought that would be cute. Tucked in here somewhere. Maybe we glue it to the bottom. Okay, that's cute, I like that. All right, so to get this off, you just use a scraper and go in and give it a little nudge. You're good to go. And I think I'll just use hot glue to add this to the bottom. Okay, I am absolutely loving this. It's so funny and so great. Now Now, if you want to, you could put another decorative piece down below here. I do have these pieces that punch out with that die. I mean, it'll just make it look nice and clean, right? So we'll just put that on there. Okay. Now you can go ahead and use this like this, or you can continue to do some stacking of rosettes, making them larger as you go down. And that's what I came up with while I was creating this. So that's what I'm going to do now. And I thought I would create one of the rosettes with you because I'm going to use some heavy vellum. So this is 1.5 by 12. Now I'm going to score this one at 1/2 inch. When you're doing vellum, just be real careful not to push too hard. So I'm scoring at every 1/2 inch. So 1/2 inch, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, and so on. Now when I have thicker paper or even vellum, sometimes I like to flip it over and then just do the other side. It just makes it easier when you go to do your zigzag fold. And again, I'm not pushing down very hard. Okay, now we're going to start our mountain valley folds or zigzag folds. I'm going to just take my time since it's vellum. It can tear, so just be careful. So I'm using a heavier brand of vellum. So now you want to repeat the same process and create another strip. We're going to attach those 2 strips together to make a larger rosette. Okay, I have my 2 pieces, and since this is vellum, hot glue would probably eventually pop off, so I'm just going to use some tape adhesive. Okay, I'm going to add my hot glue here. Bring over my vellum. I'm going to hold this until it dries, so I'll be back. Okay, this is all dry, and I'm going to just pop that off. Okay, so our rosette is done, and what I have done off screen is created several other rosettes. So I have some that are 1/4 inch. I have 1/2 inch, another 1/4 inch, and I even created one that is 3/8 inch in height. So it just all depends on what you score your paper at. 1/4 inch, 3/8, or 1/2 inch. It's purely up to you. You can even do an inch. So I have all my pieces together in Cricut Design Space. I even found this doily shape, and I cut this out of black glitter paper. And what I'm going to do is stack everything, and I've used some mesh from the Dollar Tree. I have the decorative mesh here with the white spray on it, and then just the spider web purple and black mesh. And here. So I'm going to be layering these up. I even pulled out my fun fur, and we'll be using a little sprig of that. And here is another rosette that I created using Tim Holtz snowflake die. And I thought this would be great for Halloween because it's pointy, you know, a little gothic, whatever. So it can be used for Halloween as well. So what I'm going to do is use my glue gun and start putting all my pieces together and building my rosette stack. Okay, so I'm going to start with my doily on the bottom and my largest rosette. I'm just going to re-add some hot glue to the bottom of that and then stick that down. And that's just basically what I'm going to do, is just add hot glue and build up my stack. So that's our stacked rosettes, and I'm loving how this turned out. As you can see here, I did use some of this glitter glue that I picked up from the Dollar Tree. I am really loving this, and I went around the edge of the rosette there and even up here at the top. I also used some stickles to go around the black rosette with stars here, give a little gold shimmer. And then adding the layered mesh really just kind of sets it off as well. I'm loving it. So you can leave it like this, it's perfectly fine, or you can add some decorations to it. Now, the way that I decorated my other one was using some of the same products. I used the mesh from the Dollar Tree. I cut out a spider web using my Cricut Design Space. I used the glitter glue again, as well as the stickles, the fun fur, and just layered around chipboard pieces of the candy corn. I thought that was cute. And then put from the skull and bone necklace from the Dollar Tree, I cut apart and added some bones in here. I thought that was cute. So that's it. Easy peasy. And I like the fact that you can use just the topper part, like the first two layers, as your place card holder or a sign holder, however you want to use this. I love the idea of stacking. It's really kind of fun. That's what takes the most time, is creating the rosettes and figuring out how you want everything stacked. But once you do that, it's easy peasy, right? Just use some hot glue and stick it together. So that's our project for today. I hope that you have enjoyed creating this along with me. And if you do, please post pictures and tag me. I would love to see your design. Thanks a lot for joining me. I'll see you next time.